Hi, this is Joe from Vanta. In today's digital world, compliance regulations are changing constantly, and earning customer trust has never mattered more. Vanta helps companies get compliant fast and stay secure with the most advanced AI, automation, and continuous monitoring out there. So whether you're a startup going for your first SOC 2 or ISO 27001, or a growing enterprise managing vendor risk, Vanta makes it quick, easy, and scalable. And I'm not just saying that because I work here. Get started at vanta.com.
Banking with Capital One helps you keep more money in your wallet with no fees or minimums on checking accounts and no overdraft fees. Just ask the Capital One bank guy. It's pretty much all he talks about, in a good way. He'd also tell you that this podcast is his favorite podcast, too. Aw, really? Thanks, Capital One bank guy. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank. Capital One N.A. member FDIC.
Avoiding your unfinished home projects because you're not sure where to start? Thumbtack knows home so you don't have to. Don't know the difference between matte paint finish and satin? Or what that clunking sound from your dryer is? With Thumbtack, you don't have to be a home pro. You just have to hire one. You can hire top-rated pros, see price estimates, and read reviews all on the app. Download today. Tired of your car insurance rate going up even with a clean driving record? You're not alone. That's why there's Jerry, your proactive insurance assistant. Jerry compares rates side by side from over 50 top insurers and helps you switch with ease. Jerry even tracks market rates and alerts you when it's best to shop. No spam calls, no hidden fees. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Switch with confidence, download the Jerry app, or visit jerry.ai/ACAST today.
This is the Daily Tech News for Thursday, August 7th, 2025. Tell you what you need to know, follow up in the context of those stories, and help each other understand.
Today, Dr. Niki tells us why putting wires in mouse eyes is helpful for the mice and us. And OpenAI announces the long-awaited release of ChatGPT-5.
Yeah, late-breaking news there. I'm Jason Howell.
I went to it now.
Let's start with what you need to know with the big story. Yeah, so after a whole lot of leaks and waiting, I think there was even a leaked blog post on GitHub earlier this morning. So it was like, okay, it's going to happen. OpenAI has finally officially announced its new flagship model, ChatGPT-5. So they're not, messing around with any O's or anything like that attached to 4 or whatever they've done in the past. This is like a very major next step. Users of every subscription level will gain access to this. And it's actually quite interesting how they're doing this. GPT-5 arrives as a single unified model inside of ChatGPT. There's a behind the scenes kind of mechanism that's at work that automatically switches to enhanced reasoning and other modes based on the complexity of a given task. So you can say goodbye to the model picker approach. If you use ChatGPT, it can be a little confusing, like picking the right model. Now, apparently, you don't need to do that once this actually rolls out. So even free users, along with this, are going to gain access to some of ChatGPT's advanced reasoning capabilities, that for the first time, because of the kind of more advanced way that this operates behind the scenes. So that's pretty cool. CEO Sam Altman announced the new model during a live streamed event. Actually, to be completely frank, it's still going on right now. So this, like I said, is late breaking news. He calls it, quote, the best model in the world. Of course he does. For coding, writing, and tasks, Altman said the new tech, quote, really feels like talking to an expert on any topic, like a PhD level expert. Way to talk it up. OpenAI also stresses improvements in safety with a 45% drop in hallucinations compared to GPT-4o. All users can begin to use GPT-5 starting today. Paid users will gain access to higher use limits, more advanced versions. And yes, that does include the $200 per month version that basically just takes all the reins off of it and says, go nuts, go crazy. What do you think, Huyen? Are you a user / fan / curiosity digger of GPT? And what do you think of 5?
I'm definitely a curiosity digger. I do like the idea very much that from a user perspective, I do like the idea that they're trying to make this a little more accessible by taking the switching out of it, because that's always been, I think, one of the most unapproachable parts of it is that there are so many different models. And so I think it makes a lot of sense for them from a user empathy perspective to try to just like align it. And I like the idea that the AI is picking itself in a sense, like picking which member of the team it is bestest for the task. I am always very skeptical about someone telling me in 2025 that it feels like talking to an expert on the topic, like a PhD level expert. So I will say maybe it definitely probably feels that way. And I think that's something that all of these models are very good at, is making you feel ways about things. I think Nick Turley, the head of ChatGPT said, what was it? Hold on. Nick Turley, head of ChatGPT said, the vibes of this model are really good. And
we rate the vibes as good.
I think to try to be as positive as I can, that is something that they're very, very good at, and that they have and there's a lot of validity to this, is to make the vibes good. That's part of a good user experience. That's part of helping people use the tool, like in a certain way, and that helps people's, I guess, success with a tool, depending on how you mark success, by making the vibes good. Like
what does that mean though? What does it mean, make the vibes good? Like, I have a general sense of vibes, and then of course there's vibe coding, which is another kind of aspect of things. Is he talking just more like a feeling, like it's a this feels good to use this, I feel like I'm talking to a machine that actually has my back or knows where I'm coming from? Is that what he means by that?
I assume so, because I'm trying to be positive as possible, weird. Because I really don't. I'm extremely skeptical that that it may feel like talking to an expert. Is it actually like talking to an expert? Totally. No way. Like this is what bothers me a little. This is the kind of thing that bothers me. And of course, we know that Sam Altman is going to like hype up, ChatGPT. That's not a surprise. I don't even necessarily blame him for it or anything, but I also thought of maybe being cynical, like the best model in the world for coding and writing tasks. Like that might be true, but overall, I still, at least for my job, and again, maybe I'm biased because it's my job and I don't want to lose it to AI. I don't think we're there yet. I don't think we're at PhD level expert. It may feel like it. It might have the vibes of a PhD, but it certainly doesn't have like an actual degree in coding. And this is from personal experience this week. So I mean, I'm very happy for user experience improvements and for people to try these things for like simple things, but I really think they're overselling it when it comes to this PhD level expert at stuff.
I mean, anytime they say something like that, the hairs on my neck stand up a little bit. I mean, these are the people who are in control of these things. As I was kind of putting this together, it was like, it's better at, all of these tasks. It's better at reasoning. It's better at coding, writing, blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, this is, and I think I've even said this on AI Inside at times, like it's the greatest hits of new model is released, right? Like they all say that. And it's true. It's kind of like when a new Pixel phone comes out and Google says it's the best Pixel we've ever made. Well, damn well better be, because it's your latest one. So, like they're always, they're not going to release one that's worse than the previous one. So I just take that as a given. And it just kind of feels like, the fluffy things that CEOs who want you to buy their products say. When you start throwing around PhD level expert, like I sort of get where you're coming from, but I think it ties into the overpromise kind of behavior, let's say, that we see a lot in AI, which is that they're all talking about how these things, how super intelligence is right around the corner and our model is the best representation and reason, to show you that it is. And yet, I can't get an agentic browser to like close a tab when I say do that, it closes the wrong one or whatever. Like they get things incredibly wrong. So can they synthesize information and organize it in a way that maybe a PhD level expert might be able to do? Can they explain a complicated theory or concepts in a way that I now understand where I didn't before? Sure, they can do all these things, but to basically kind of liken it to a PhD, I think is far overselling it based on what we as humans know when we meet someone who is PhD level and what their expertise actually is. I think they're just two different things. It's like comparing apples to oranges.
Yeah, I think the subtle thing here is like perception. And I think right now, because these LLMs are so good at seeming to be conscious. It's seeming to really
Right.
understand
Saying
you,
the right things.
saying the right thing. And that's kind of built into how they're made. Like they're
Yes.
part of they're made to make you feel it. Yes. And like, I mean, to be honest, like, yeah, there's actually something substantive in Nick Turley saying the vibes are really good, because honestly, like this, I feel like an old person using vibes, but like, no, honestly, this is what they're good at, is the vibes. And I mean that in like the most sincere way, but the vibes are not are not good enough. Like it's one thing to make you feel like you got a good answer that made you feel that you're talking to something, but it's all about perception. And I feel like there's so many things that right now it's really cool. I think it's really like solidifying to me that a lot of this is about that perception. And I don't think they're going to stop trying to sell us this perception of this, like,
Oh, no.
like super intelligence. But and it's weird because I think the more they say it, the more it keeps getting picked up. Like, I think I read a Fortune, I guess your mileage might vary on like, insert X publication. But I read like this Fortune article really quick that said, oh, well, generally, AI is really good at coding. And I was just like, no, it's not. But I do understand, though, why that's the perception that, obviously Fortune, not an engineering magazine, but I understand why that has come around, because they just keep pushing the vibes. And I guess now in 2025, there's a lot of vibe-based culture. And
Yeah,
that
think
the
you're right.
perception is like, hey, that there's something substantive there, but it's not. It's driving me crazy, but yeah.
Yeah. And also define really good. Like really good could mean a million different things. Is it really good at creating a block of code? Well, yeah, it is. It is really good
It's
at
good at
creating a
creating
block
it,
of
yeah.
code. Is it really good at creating a great, no errors whatsoever, succinct and, all of these complicated aspects of coding that developers are in fact really good at because they've been trained. And, I think they're getting better at that, but
Yeah.
I don't think they're at the same level. But they sure really want you to believe
Think
that they
that
are.
they do. They really want you to buy licenses for it. Like I literally this week, and this is not ChatGPT, but I was using Claude to do something that is extremely simple but boring. Like I had basically some text and I wanted to say, hey, write an object that is this text. It's like the simplest thing ever. It's like literally something that I just kind of compared, like, okay, color equals red. I'm typing in color equals red over here. All right, the next thing says like animal like type equals dog. I put it's like it literally just like, it's very rote. It's like the most basic thing that I have to do every day. And I asked Claude to do it, and it took me 20 minutes to do it when it should have taken me 5. And I was like,
Right.
this should be the kind of thing that it's good at. And it's weird because there were certain things that it was smart at. I was like, well, there's compile errors in this, and it knew enough to like, oh, let me run this and see what the errors are and try to fix them. And it's so weird because it's like, it's so good at certain things. Like, again, I speak to it in natural language. It gets what I'm saying. It tries to take steps to fix it, but something is missing. And
Yeah.
and
It's
yeah, like
impressive.
it's impressive,
it's-
but
Yeah.
it might be
but
just
but
vibes still. Sorry. I mean,
Yeah.
for 50% vibes, which I guess I don't know if I can live off of 50% vibes.
No, I don't think anyone can live off of 50% vibe. All this to say, by the way, like the event is still going on.
Yeah.
I've been checking my ChatGPT my OpenAI ChatGPT account, because I am a paid not $200 per month user, but a $20 per month user. It has not appeared on my account yet. None of this is to say that I'm not interested / intrigued / a little excited to play around with it, because I do use ChatGPT for a lot of different things. So I'm very, very curious, but I'm also like we've been talking about, a little skeptical when they start throwing around PhD. So there's that.
All right. Well, we don't need vibes because DTNS has wonderful listeners, because we are made possible by you, the listeners, thanks to Tony Glass, Philip Less, Howard Yermish, and we want to welcome a new patron, Nilesh. Thank you so much for being here.
Welcome.
Picture this. You're in the garage, hands covered in grease, just finished up tuning your engine with a part you found on eBay, and you realize, you know what? I could also use new brakes. So where do you go next? Back to eBay. You can find anything there. It's unreal. Wipers, headlights, even cold air intakes. It's all there. And you've got eBay Guaranteed Fit. You order a part, and if it doesn't fit, send it back. Simple as that. Look, DIY fixes can be major. Doesn't matter if it's just maintenance or a major mod. You got it, especially when things are guaranteed to fit. So when you dive into your next car project, start with eBay. All the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love.
In business, they say you can have better, cheaper, or faster, but you only get to pick two. What if you could have all three? You can with Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. OCI is the blazing fast hyperscaler for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs, where you can run any workload for less. Compared with other clouds, OCI costs up to 50% less for compute, 70% less for storage, and 80% less for networking. Try OCI for free at oracle.com/dailytech. Oracle.com/dailytech. Tired of your car insurance rate going up even with a clean driving record? You're not alone. That's why there's Jerry, your proactive insurance assistant. Jerry compares rates side by side from over 50 top insurers and helps you switch with ease. Jerry even tracks market rates and alerts you when it's best to shop. No spam calls, no hidden fees. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Switch with confidence, download the Jerry app, or visit jerry.ai/acast today.
Hey, it's Maya and Sim from the Girls That Invest podcast. If you are an IT or security pro, you know managing devices, identities, and applications can feel overwhelming and honestly risky. That's where Trellica by 1Password comes in. It helps conquer SaaS sprawl and shadow IT by discovering every app your team uses, managed or not. With pre-built app profiles, you can assess risk, manage access, and even optimize your software spend. Plus, it simplifies onboarding, offboarding, and compliance, all while cutting costs by eliminating unused licenses. Take the first step to better security for your team. Learn more at onepassword.com/special offer.
Avoiding your unfinished home projects because you're not sure where to start? Thumbtack knows home so you don't have to. Don't know the difference between matte paint finish and satin? Or what that clunking sound from your dryer is? With Thumbtack, you don't have to be a home pro. You just have to hire one. You can hire top-rated pros, see price estimates, and read reviews all on the app. Download today.
All right, there's more we need to know today. Let's get to the briefs.
All right, well, Google has launched its AI coding agent, Jules, after a beta that began early this year at Google I/O. So it's powered by Gemini 2.5 Pro and acts as an asynchronous tool that integrates closely with GitHub. It can also spin up Google Cloud virtual machines and fix or update code bases autonomously. The asynchronous nature means it can operate in the background, unlike other coding tools that require developers to be there, to be present for each step or prompt. And the full release includes structured subscription tiers that includes a free intro plan with a daily task limit and two paid plans with much higher limits.
Didn't hear anything about PhD in that one. What do you think? Do you trust a Jules bot to do the thing while you walk away and grab a coffee because it's off in the background kind of doing the thing? You don't have to be there and babysit it?
I mean, that's fine because, honestly, having sat through it, there's not a lot to do when it's doing its thing. So that's fair. I do think that the thing that I do worry, So I think what's important, though, is that when it's done, it kind of checks in with you. I don't know if so it kind of depends on what it is. If it's something immediate, I have a new problem, I'm trying to solve it right now, and then it takes time to do the thing in the background, sure, that's fine. I wonder if this has a lot to do with kind of more things that we do already automate now, that could be kind of running tests, long suites of testing, other things like that. I kind of need to know more about how it works, but I don't necessarily mind that it's asynchronous. A lot of stuff we do is, and it allows it. And I guess the positive thing here is that it would allow a developer to multitask. So maybe we have Jules doing something that we could do, but it's pretty rote and boring, and then we can kind of go off, have meetings, plan architecture, and then Jules comes back. I think that's not a bad idea, honestly. But we'll have to wait and see. But yes, I'm glad to see no mentions of any kind of degrees, a PhD or otherwise.
Not yet. No, it's implied. It's implied in the vibe. More details have been shared since Apple's announcement yesterday of $100 billion investment in U.S. manufacturing. So I thought I'd kind of touch in on this. I know Tom and gang talked a little bit about this when it was fresh. Apple announced it will manufacture all iPhone and Apple Watch cover glass at Corning's Harrodsburg, Kentucky facility. Apple says that 100% of Apple devices cover glass will as a result, be made in the US for the first time. So there's that. Samsung also is going to be working with Apple to produce advanced digital image sensors in Apple's upcoming iPhones at its semiconductor plant in Texas as well. So this announcement mentioned the launch of, quote, an innovative new technology for making chips, which has never been used before anywhere in the world, end quote. So yeah, just a little bit more detail around what it means when Apple says it's going to be having such major investment in U.S. manufacturing. This is kind of the starting point. This is what it looks like. And I mean, producing all the glass for Apple's iPhone and Apple Watches, that's not insignificant. That's a pretty big deal.
As someone who's not, my political analysis is not my job. I can't help but feel like this is tied to tariffs. That T word,
it is.
the T word. And on that note, rather, the president of the U.S. announced Wednesday that he might impose a 100% tariff on semiconductor imports, with exemptions for some companies like Apple and TSMC. The president often announces numbers that later change, because you might note 100% is quite a big percent. And the number of exemptions to the rule may limit its impact, although one company looks like it might find it hard to get an exemption.
Yeah, today was one of those days when I opened up Tech Meme. I was like, man, there's a lot of politics. So how are we going to do this? Well, the president of the U.S. also wrote on Truth Social Thursday, the CEO of Intel is highly conflicted and must resign immediately. There is no other solution to this problem. That's a full quote there. Well, Intel's CEO is Lip Bhutan. He has served on Intel's board since 2022. He took over as CEO on March 12th this year. Tan also serves on the boards of Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, Schneider Electric, and SoftBank. He was born in Malaysia. He went to school in Singapore and attended graduate school in the U.S. in the 1970s. And now he is a U.S. citizen. He lives in Piedmont, California, here in the Bay Area where I live. He's Presbyterian, has served on the board of evangelical Christian colleges. All right, so that's a little bit of background. He founded Walden International Investments, which has invested in many Chinese semiconductor companies. Now, Tan received a letter in 2023 raising concerns about those investments from the Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party. Earlier this week, U.S. Senator Tom Cotton sent a letter to Intel's board asking questions about those investments and Tan's 12-year term as CEO of chip design company Cadence Designs. They actually sold products to China's National University of Defense Technology. Well, Cadence pleaded guilty in July to violating U.S. export controls. Intel has been cutting costs, recently delayed several projects, including the building of factories in the U.S. And other companies like TSMC, Samsung, and most recently Apple have announced those expansions of investment that, one of which or two of which actually that we were just talking about here in the U.S. So that's a little bit of background there. Big thank you to Tom Merritt for helping me synthesize this and get some coordination and collection around how these stories intertwine and play, because it's a little challenging to kind of follow along, but at least that gives you a little bit more background on what that actually means.
All right. Well, Japan recently passed the Smartphone Act, which requires Apple to lift its longstanding ban on third-party browser engines by December 2025, so end of this year. This will prevent Apple from requiring competitors in the browser space to use Apple's WebKit engine, something that many of the browsers in question will not do since they can't control or modify it. The law not only bans outright blocks, it also demands equal access to OS APIs for third-party browsers. Users in Japan will soon see a choice screen when setting up new devices as this law goes into effect by December 2025. Similar rules are coming into force in the EU and the UK in 2026.
That'll be interesting. Once again, anytime I see stories like this, I'm like, okay, what does this mean for the wider swath of the world? We've got these very specific regions that have these requirements, and the whole landscape is getting more and more complicated for companies like Apple to kind of create different localized versions of what they're doing in different places. Of course, Apple would love for its iPhones to operate the same way in all different places. Now it's starting to get kind of, splintered and broken up in these ways. Meanwhile, I think this is really great for users, right? Like
Yes.
users,
Yeah.
we come from the land of of down Android.
Yeah.
And and where a lot of this stuff has kind of been there more or less since the beginning. So I think we take it for granted. But on iOS, you are really limited to that WebKit engine. Some people might argue that that's a good thing for safety and for security. Others, I think from a choice perspective, like give me the choice, allow me to make the choice. So I see this as a good thing.
Yeah, it's always a tenuous thing, right? Because obviously there's a good degree of trust that you can have in the WebKit engine for a lot of the basics, like you said, security and privacy, because we do know that Apple focuses on it. But to some point, I know sometimes I'm critical of this, but at some point, yes, that does prevent innovation, that does prevent competitors in the space, and it does prevent people from trying different ways. And of course, then you always have to kind of reevaluate like a new player in the space. Like, are are they malware or are they realware? I don't know what the opposite of malware is. But it does. I do think over a long period of time, this kind of control does limit options and thereby might and does in fact kind of stifle innovation, or at least a different way of doing things, which is not always a bad thing and often a good thing. So I'm also excited as a developer. So
cool.
Yay.
The Framework desktop. We all know Framework, right? It's a company that is really dedicated and devoted to repairability. And the desktop version or kind of variant of their efforts, apparently the reviews embargo lifted this morning because there were a bunch of reviews that suddenly hit. Their new modular approach to desktop PC builds is being generally praised for its compact size. There's a powerful AMD Ryzen AI Max processor inside that's nice. How easy it is to assemble. It actually has a customizable magnetic front panel. You've got swappable decorative tiles, so you can kind of make it your own from the outside anyways. Expansion cards for individualized port arrays, that sort of stuff. But general consensus seems to say that the machine sits in a very confusing position given Framework's repairability ethos, something that's been committed to with its phones and its laptops, and the fact that this desktop is, at least in some ways, less repairable than standard desktop machines. RAM is soldered into place. There are limited CPU choices, at least at launch, but it seems like the reviewers, or at least the ones that I read, say that it performs well for things like productivity, for gaming, even at 4K with upscaling. And it sounds like the Framework desktop is, really like a niche product. Developers, fans of small form factor PCs might want to consider it. You're looking at around $1,099 to start if you want to get in on that.
That is so crazy because I feel like RAM is one of the things that is most commonly replaced in a computer. And it's soldered in place. But I mean, I do appreciate a lot of this, like the kind of the customizability is actually really great. And I think that's a great entry point for a lot of people. It's so odd that one of the traditionally most swap outable pieces of the internals is soldered into place. But hey, like it could be good for someone. It's cool.
Yeah.
All right, well, DJI, who I actually think of as a camera company, introduced its first robot vacuum, the Romo, with a transparent design and integrated drone technology. It uses advanced sensors like a binocular fisheye vision sensor and a machine learning perception algorithm to detect obstacles, plan routes, and potentially clean more efficiently than competing robo vacuums. The DJI Romo comes in 3 flavors, mostly differentiated by their transparent appearance. China is first up for availability at around 4,699 yuan. To start, that's roughly $654 US, with a worldwide release to follow later this year.
It'd be cool if you could stream video from this thing to your phone and see it clean. Actually, I don't even know if that would be cool. That might be kind of boring. Here's a vacuum going through my house.
It's really neat. It almost looks like a nothing thing, like if nothing made a vacuum.
Totally right.
It's got that aesthetic. I kind of want just for the aesthetic.
Definitely looks different. You're gonna have to wait though. Maybe it'll come to the US. There was no word on official availability in the US even that it would come. So cross your fingers, Win.
All right, I'm crossing my fingers. And those are the essentials for today. Let's dive a little deeper.
In early June, researchers restored partial vision in blind mice, 3 blind mice, and enabled near IR vision in primates. It just involves sticking wires in their eyes. Youch. Before you say no, let Dr. Niki explain.
Dr. Niki, welcome back.
Hello.
Why should we put wires in our eyes?
Aren't you excited to find out?
Maybe.
Okay, so stay with me. The human eye lacks photoreceptors for infrared light. We actually covered this not so long ago with a similar story. So why would we want to see infrared? Well, in some patients with severe eye diseases, adding infrared on top of what they can already see would actually improve low light visibility in these situations. So you could maybe add in a sensor to do that. So it would be beneficial to develop these types of technologies that would let people see a broader spectrum of light.
Yeah. So when we talked about those infrared contact lenses, it was like, oh, it makes sense. Infrared can give you night vision. So you're basically giving you night vision. I assume there is the obvious difference of this involving sticking wires in the eye.
Yeah, we haven't gotten to that part yet.
What else is different about this one?
So this is actually really cool. But yeah, the contact lenses we talked about use nanoparticles to reflect infrared light. But in this case, these are implants that use a tellurium nanowire. And the nanowire uses photovoltaic conversion that converts visible light to infrared light. So photovoltaic is if you have solar panels that create electricity and don't heat water, that's what basically it is. So using light.
Yeah, I have photovoltaic panels above me right now.
So if you pull out those wires and stick them in your eye, don't do that.
Well, you said nano wire, which made me feel a little better because they're small,
really tiny wires. And it you can't even see it, obviously, because it's inside your eyes, but they go behind the retina. And on the schematic, it just looks like almost molecules, how small they are, and kind of arranged in a really thin chip, but not a chip, but in the square, okay? And there's no auxiliary equipment, there's no batteries, and supposedly they're safe and really easy to implant. Just need to stick a wire in your eye.
So the wire just naturally converts the light? Is that's the idea?
You just stick
passively,
it in there, and through its properties, it just passively converts visible into infrared light.
All right. Not that I would expect this. I find it hard to believe, even though I want to believe. So I assume they tested this.
They did test this. They did it in both mice and macaques. So they implanted these nanowires into the subretinal space, so right underneath the retina in their eyes. First of all, they showed good biocompatibility. We talked about this last time. You want stuff that's not going to have a bad reaction to your body. So the body didn't reject it.
Okay.
And like we said, they didn't need external power sources, so they worked on their own.
Big deal.
So what they did with the mice is they blinded them beforehand.
Oh,
sorry.
Mice always get the bad end of something.
And then they fixed their blindness, though.
Yeah.
It's like a Stockholm Syndrome situation. So the implant replaced the previously damaged photoreceptors, the cells that perceive light in your eyes, and caused a neural reaction in the optic nerve and also in the visual cortex, the region of the brain that reacts to vision. Also in these mice, they found that they had the ones that had corrected with the nanowires, they had better pupil reactions when you shone light in your eyes. And the ones that had corrected eyesight were better at light-associated learning behaviors. So they would train them to do something when a light came on, and then they would be better at it.
Better than the mice that hadn't been blinded.
The blinded control mice, yeah.
Than the blinded control
Not
mice.
like a normal mouse, though.
Oh, well, I would expect they wouldn't be better since they could see. So
yeah,
that's probably not surprising, but of course you have to test it. What about the monkeys? Did the monkeys benefit?
So they didn't blind the monkeys. I'm assuming that would not be ethical.
The monkeys wouldn't have it. They were like, no.
Yeah, they're like,
can't do that.
Please don't. Plus, the story's not about blind monkeys. It's about blind mice. So.
Mm-hmm. True.
So actually in the monkeys, what this did is they gained infrared vision on top of their normal visual
spectrum. They're super monkeys.
So yeah, so they then did training behaviors where they used an infrared light and they were able to respond to that.
Okay. As with these things, I mean, it's fascinating that you don't have to have a power source, that this passively works. That's pretty amazing. What kind of applications are they thinking they could use this for?
Yeah, so this is super exciting. In my view, I think in the next few years, this might be the, hearing aid for blindness. Although, again, it only gives you a little bit extra push, but
sure.
Potentially future iterations of this would help restore vision in blind and visually impaired people. So really excited to figure out where this goes. Would you get this implant in your eyeballs?
I probably would if I needed it. There's so many eye surgeries already.
And if they tested it on humans first, maybe.
Well, yes. I'm already jumping to that conclusion.
You're like,
but
let's go.
It's a really good point. Like, if it proves safe and effective, and I need it, so those 3 caveats, then yeah, I mean, they do cataract replacement surgeries and stuff. And so I don't love the idea of surgery on my eye, don't get me wrong, but it's proven that you can do that. So this doesn't seem like it would be particularly more risky than anything we already do.
Yeah, I like that it
just
doesn't have like wires. Other than the wires in your eye, it doesn't have wires like sticking out. So
and they're small.
They're really, really small. Yeah, and also you just mentioned eye surgery, and that made me think, imagine, so the people who have to do cataract surgery on humans, imagine doing eye surgery in a mouse eye.
Oh
That's
my gosh.
so small.
Right?
Really stable hands.
Yeah. I mean, I assume the mice are put out,
Absolutely,
anesthesia for that.
I really hope so.
Because, man, if they're wiggly little mice, that's even worse. No, I'm assuming that's the case. Dr. Niki, this is an excellent one. Thanks for bringing this.
Happy to bring you all the eyeball stories this summer.
Positive eyeball stories. Keep them. It's an eyeball summer here at Daily Tech News Show. If folks want to find more of what you do, where should they keep an eye on?
Oh, good one. They should take a look at my website, NicoleAckermans.com, and I'm under the same handle on Blue Sky.
Thanks, Dr. Niki.
Bye.
Of course, Tom Merritt had an eye pun in there. Of course he did. He's a professional. No, thank you. No, thank you to the wires in my eyes. At least if it's going to happen and it's going to solve an issue with my sight, like Tom said, I would agree. I'm not opposed to eye things because I have to wear glasses when I'm not wearing contacts, and I really don't enjoy that. So I'm open to it. But the idea of little wires in the eyes, no, thank you. That just does not sound fun.
Yeah, it's tough. I would be glad for people that need them to have them, but oof. All right. Well, if you have feedback for anything that gets brought up in the show, get in touch with us on the socials at DTNS Show on X, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Mastodon. For TikTok and YouTube, you can find us at Daily Tech News Show.
AI is transforming customer service. It's real and it works. And with Fin, we've built the #1 AI agent for customer service. We're seeing lots of cases where it's solving up to 90% of real queries for real businesses. This includes the real-world complex stuff like issuing a refund or cancelling an order. And we also see it when Fin goes up against competitors. It's top of all the performance benchmarks, top of the G2 leaderboard, and if you're not happy, we'll refund you up to $1 million, which I think says it all. Check it out for yourself at fin.ai.
Banking with Capital One helps you keep more money in your wallet with no fees or minimums on checking accounts and no overdraft fees. Just ask the Capital One bank guy. It's pretty much all he talks about, in a good way. He'd also tell you that this podcast is his favorite podcast, too. Ah, really? Thanks, Capital One bank guy. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank. Capital One N.A. member FDIC.
All right, and we end every episode of DTNS with some shared wisdom. Today, Andrew and Stim have some stories to share that are inspired by Tom's mention of Microsoft Bob earlier this week.
Andrew writes, you resurfaced a core memory for me when you mentioned Microsoft Bob. When my parents first got a Windows 95 PC, I played with the operating system for literal hours. And then I found Bob and played with it for hours until that fateful day that I realized Bob was just a worse UI than Windows to do the same things. I still miss that dog, though. Andrew from Colorado.
Boy, this is bringing back some memories, not like memories of me using them, but memories that this actually existed.
Yes.
Stim wrote on Patreon and said, I've never understood the hate that Microsoft Bob got. I personally found it fun. My now wife, who back then was not technology averse, but largely indifferent and didn't own a computer yet, found it a great entry into the world of Windows 95. Could you imagine, this is, thank you for writing in, Stim, but could you imagine if this was the UI layer of the future and we just were used to having our UI locked away inside of a cabin where we would click on a door to open up that application or whatever. Like I never had, did you have Microsoft Pod? Did you ever use it? Or
I feel like what would happen was like my parents would go to Sam's Club and then I would hang out in the computer aisle and I probably used it there. I have a memory like that, but I never used it like for myself at home on a computer.
Yeah.
This does make me think of like things like, I don't know, like the old movies in the like the old net movies like in the late 90s of like Lawnmower Man or something, where interfaces, or even like Jurassic Park, the infamous scene from Jurassic Park where everything is just like there's like a very specific metaphor for computer things, and that felt so futuristic. I feel like we're starting to come back around to that. I'm not sure. I feel like that this could be a thing again, and that Bob might just be super prescient. I don't know. I don't know, especially since like, you know, with agentic AI and assistants being like these kind of increasingly anthropomorphized things, I could see this being a thing again. Maybe not quite like a cabin with a dog, but something similar.
Yeah, maybe something more higher resolution than like VGA quality, you know?
I kind of like that part.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. Don't get me wrong.
All right. Well, what are you thinking about? Do you have some insight into a story? Please share it with us. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com.
Big thanks to Dr. Niki. Thank you to STEM. Also, Andrew for writing in and contributing to today's show. And thank you for being along for Daily Tech News Show. You can keep us in business. Become a patron at patreon.com/DTNS. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
The DTNS family of podcasts, helping each other understand.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Listen up! You can get the new iPhone 16e with Apple Intelligence for just $49.99 when you switch to Boost Mobile. We pulled so many all-nighters to give you this deal, and hey, stop messing with the mic!
I'm just helping us catch people's attention. This is a great deal!
Exactly, so it doesn't need all that.
Fine.
Head to your nearest Boost Mobile store right now.
Visit your nearest Boost Mobile store for full offer details. Apple Intelligence requires iOS 18.1 or later. Restrictions apply.
Hey, it's Maya and Sim from the Girls That Invest podcast. If you are an IT or security pro, you know managing devices, identities, and applications can feel overwhelming and honestly risky. That's where Trellica by 1Password comes in. It helps conquer SaaS sprawl and shadow IT by discovering every app your team uses, managed or not. With pre-built app profiles, you can assess risk, manage access, and even optimize your software spend. Plus, it simplifies onboarding, offboarding, and compliance, all while cutting costs by eliminating unused licenses. Take the first step to better security for your team. Learn more at onepassword.com/special offer.